What would you buy if you wanted the new BMW 5 Series, but you wanted your car to be extra special and futuristic? Well, they have the answer for you in the form of this. This is the BMW i5. It's their take on what the premium mid-size sedan should be in the future. It's an all-electric car, and it's also an electric version of the 5 Series, as the name suggests. But today we're going to find out if it's worthy of the 5 Series badge. After all, the 5 Series is one of their most successful cars to date and one of their most legendary badges, not just in India but around the world. The i5 is available as one fully loaded M60 X-Drive model with all the bells and whistles that BMW has for its electric family of cars. On the outside, this includes things like the M Sport package, full LED light package, and 20-inch M Sport wheels that really add a presence to the car. You also get 9 exterior color schemes, all with a contrasting roof color option. Inside, you get things like Veganza leather, dual digital screen, all-powered seats, multi-zone climate control, and a massive amount of space all around, something we will get to later in the video. The powertrain in question for this M60 X-Drive variant is an 83.9 kWh battery pack with a claimed range of 516 km. You get dual electric motors mounted on each axle, having a combined output of 601 horsepower and 795 Nm of torque. The claimed 0 to 100 kmph time is a supercar-like 3.8 seconds, which is quite impressive considering the size and weight of this vehicle. Now, obviously, looks play a big part in the appeal of the 5 Series. It's a large car, it's always been a large car, growing proportionally over time with the requirements and demands of the market. And this one is no less, even in electric guys. It's a bit shorter than the regular 5 Series in terms of overall length and wheelbase, but at 5 meters, it's not a small car by any measure. So here are some of the exterior design highlights. We begin with the face, where you get the signature BMW kidney grille, but because this is an electric car, it's a faux grille and it's blacked out here. But in this, especially in this kind of dark shade that this car is, it looks very, very elegant. This is of course an M Sport package, and so you get things like the M badge here, and you get the M Sport bumpers also. You also get these kind of muscular bulges on the hood that give the car a sort of very strong appearance. And then of course you got the BMW logo right there in the middle. Finally, we also have to point out that you do get double barrel headlamps here. They're a little slimmer than what was there on the previous generation, but still give the car a very iconic look, something that's been there with the vehicle for a long time and is expected to continue in the future. A 5 Series wouldn't be a 5 Series, whether it's electric or regular, without its iconic silhouette, stubby rear end, big front, slightly forward-leaning stance, large wheels. These are all elements that one associates with multiple generations of the 5 Series, and this one has carried it on nicely. Some of the major highlights include these pull-out door handles, the large ORVMs, and of course the wheels. Now, these are larger than what you get on the standard 5 Series. These are 20-inch wheels, and because this is an M Sport package, you get M spec wheels and you get really nice looking and sporty red brake calipers. And finally, we come to the rear of this BMW i5 in this M60 guys, and there are quite a few elements to catch your attention. One is of course the fact that you get this really small but very well integrated lip spoiler. You get air splitter elements at the bottom. You get this M60 badging. The boot is slightly recessed, and of course this can't be a BMW without its wraparound tail lamps, which are now full LED unit and slightly slimmer than what was offered on the previous generation. What do you think of the design of the BMW i5? Do you think there should be any changes? Do you think any of the design elements should come to the regular 5 Series? Do let us know in the comment section below. We're here in the front row of this BMW i5 M60. Let's look at this in two ways. One is what's on offer, and two, how good is it actually? So in terms of what's on offer, it's a very large, expansive cabin with a wide glass house, and you get lots of space. You get this gigantic center console, which means both the front occupants get their individual zone. The displays, as is the case with all BMWs for a while now, is slightly oriented towards the driver, and that's a nice thing because that's always been a BMW touch. Everything looks and feels very high quality. all the materials feels nice to touch. This is wrapped in what BMW calls veganza leather, which is vegan leather made of recycled materials meant to simulate leather. Gives you the same experience. All the touch points feel high quality, and basically it's a really nice place to be in. And when you're paying big money like what this car demands, mostly because it's a CBU, but even if you're buying the 5 Series, you're getting high quality stuff, right? You're getting your money's worth. Now, like we said, it's a really nice place to be in. Everything feels high quality. You get a large amount of space inside. Then that is considering the fact that there's a large battery pack underneath, which means that you're sitting high. Like we said, ingress egress is an issue because while BMW has raised the floor, they've not exactly adjusted the doorway, which means that if you're on the larger side, getting in and out, you have to be a little careful. Especially, you have to watch your head and not knock it on this. And like we said, large glass house all around, big glass roof, so it's very bright and airy cabin. But there's one big catch. Now, one of the things that BMW has done with this current generation of its design is to go in for a philosophy of minimalism. It's reduced the number of buttons, dials, knobs, all physical controlled, and moved all of them into these gigantic displays. The displays are very good, very high quality, lovely graphics, great transitions, but there's just too many functions in the display, right? Things that could be physically controlled, things that required a button, things that can be controlled via buttons are all on the screen, and not with one touch access, but you got to go into multiple menus to find them. And that can be cumbersome because you either have to pull over every time if you need to adjust something, or you'll be spending an inordinate amount of time looking at the screen hunting for the function. Now, like we said, this philosophy of minimalism is great. It gives the cabin a very clean and fresh look, and also gives you a direction of where BMW is going in the future. When things like gesture controls and being able to study the movement of your eyes to adjust certain functions, when those things become prominent, this would probably be useful. But in the present, it can be a bit of a task. We would recommend that if you want to do any major changes to the settings to pull over to a safe place, do it. But like we said, the majority of the controls are in the screen, and sometimes that can get really, really cumbersome. All in all, a very good job, save for that. Even that is not so much an issue, as in that is the reality of the situation, and that is how you got to deal with it. We're here in the second row of this BMW i5 M60, and it's a nice place to be in. Like the front row, you get the same Veganza leather seats, the large glass roof, and this is a standard fixture because you only get this car as one fully loaded model where it's a standard fitting. So it's a nice airy place to be in. There's enough shoulder room, enough headroom for one person. But because there's a battery pack underneath, you're again kind of shortchanged on under thigh support. You also get a large transmission tunnel. Surprising that this is an EV. And plus, if you had to put a third person in the middle, I mean, you'd be able to fit a third person in the middle, but they'll have to contend with the air vents. They'll also get a slightly different surface. So you can see that it's kind of oriented for two people to sit in. The door pockets are tiny, but you get these USB-C charging ports, and you also get the space here, which I believe is for a screen mount that you can get at the back. But there's no official confirmation from BMW at this point of time. If you do actually get rear screens for this, we'll leave a clarification in the description below. Overall, very nice place to be in, and you'll see later on in the video what it's like when the car is being driven, that we're sitting in the back. Even when the acceleration goes absolutely wild, very, very comfortable place to be in. You won't have really any issues. And that brings me to this point, which is that if you want the 5 Series backseat experience, this car delivers. But like we said, because there's a battery pack underneath, you're going to be shortchanged on under thigh support. But otherwise, quite a nice place to be in. This is the boot of the BMW i5. And as you can see, it's deep, but it's not, it doesn't have depth, right? Because you have motors and a battery underneath, which means that you can sort of push things inside. But to reach them, you're going to have to reach inside. And also, the loading lip is a bit high, but you get the surface to balance things before you slide them inside. The boot also opens up, and you get a little storage space here that has some of the tools and the safety kit. as a car to drive, if you're one of those that wants to get behind the wheel of this, the i5 is a very satisfying driving experience. It's exactly what you'd expect from a premium mid-size sedan like this in terms of driving experience. It's a very large car and you sit low down and you get a really nice view of the road, something that I think we have lost a bit of conditioning to given our craze for SUVs and the fact that we sit high up. So it's a refreshing change when you're sitting a bit low down and you could see the road. Of course, because this car is so big and so low, judging the edges is slightly difficult because you can't really see it unless you sit high up. But because this is an EV and you have a large battery pack underneath, the floor is a little higher, which means ingress and egress is tough. And also you're sitting a little higher, which means that you can't see that well over the edges. Now, in terms of ride quality, it's on the firmer side and something that BMW has had to do to compensate for the heavy battery pack and to ensure that the car doesn't wallow or, under a dynamic load doesn't become too soft, things like that. While the ride is on the firmer side, it's not uncomfortable. You don't feel it going hard over every bump or pothole, and with decent ground clearance, you're not really going to have a problem. But it's one of those things, it's better you treat it with a bit of caution, and if you feel that the obstacle is too big or the pothole is too big, maybe avoid it or go around it or take it cautiously. Now, one of the things that BMW has done with this car is to give it rear wheel steering, right? When you make a turn, the rear wheels turn with you, shrinking the size of the car, especially when it's something this large and this difficult for you to judge the edges. It's really a boon. And this is something you feel when you're making U-turns or when you're parallel parking. It shrinks the ability of the car. Of course, there's no hiding the fact that it's a 5-meter long car, which means that even if you want to parallel park it and even with rear wheel steering, it's still a large vehicle to judge. Now, one of the party pieces of this car is its ability to deliver torque instantly, as I'm now going to show you. So I'll put the car in sport mode, right? And it's tightened up the bolster around me and I'm just going to gas it. There we go. The acceleration is almost instant and just catches you out by surprise. And that's just one of those things that comes with the car. Maybe it's something you should be cautious of, and surprise me, it did. With Sagar behind the wheel, we decided to do an acceleration test, and well, here is what happened. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, okay, stop. Shit. Wow, sorry.
Yeah, reaction.
That was really fast, huh?
It's quick, dude.
It's comically quick. But even in any of the other multiple moods, as BMW is calling it, the way that it delivers power and torque is just unparalleled, and you'll have a super smooth driving experience. Previously, in these larger BMWs, you needed the large powertrain for refinement, which is not so much an issue here. Here, it's more of, you have it, so why not use it? But also the fact that you get a large range with it, which means that if you have a large battery, why not have a large powertrain option, right? This is one of BMW's flagship vehicles, and having something to brag about, especially with acceleration like that, I think is unparalleled. It's something that comes with the price and something that you should have with this price. Now I'm here in the back seat as I'm being driven around by Sagar, and on the go, like we said, the ride is on the firmer side and you do feel some of the bumps and imperfections, but it's not something that's uncomfortable, right? It's not overly firm like what you'd get in a sports car, and you are quite comfortable in the back that way, and long journey shouldn't be an issue. However, because this is an EV and the floor is high, like we said, ingress egress is a bit tight because the width of the doorway is reduced. You also don't get particularly great under thigh support. Your feet are high, even with the seat pushed up for Sagar's driving position, and you get a lot of space inside. But long journeys, especially if you're on the taller side, are going to be a bit of an issue because you are lacking under thigh support. But as a space for two, it's great and you're going to have a nice time. So BMW i5 M60, Here are some of the pros and cons that we have discovered after spending time with the car. Now, on the side of positives, one is, of course, you're a part of a legendary club, the 5 Series Club, right? It's one of those iconic badges, and especially that you have it in this i5 guys, which takes you one step above everyone else. It's beautifully appointed inside, lots of features, very comfortable, very, very spacious because it's quite a large car. It's incredibly powerful, especially if you put the car in sport mode. The acceleration is comically fast. It's unbelievable amount of speed, and it's one of those things that normally you'd put a large engine in a large car for refinement and the ability to cruise. This one has a large electric powertrain and gives you that same ability to cruise. And also, you need a really big range, right? You have a claimed range of almost 516 kilometers. That's a significant amount. That's what you get in a small petrol hatchback. So imagine something of this size being able to offer that kind of range. Now, on the side of cons, we have quite a few things to point out. One is the fact that it's incredibly large, which means that if, especially in any big city, if you are driving it by yourself, finding parking is going to be a major issue because of its size. The rear wheel steering helps in parallel parking. It makes the car feel a lot smaller than it is actually supposed to, and that is beneficial, but there's no denying that it's a large car, which means that you are going to have issues unless you have a fixed parking. Next thing is that the ride is much more on the firm side than we expected. That's something that BMW has had to integrate because of the large battery pack, and with so much weight you can't have it wallow over speed breakers. Ground clearance surprisingly is not an issue. And one of the other things we want to point out is because you have a large battery pack underneath, ingress and egress is a little tight, especially if you're on the larger side. Getting in and out is going to be tight because the floor is high, and that has created the same issue that you don't get particularly great under thigh support because of the large battery pack underneath. Now, one of the major issues that we have had, and this is something we have pointed out before too, now in the pursuit of minimalism, the cabin looks really good, right? You get these two dual digital displays in front, you get a really small amount of buttons, all that looks very nice. But the price for that is that BMW has had to cram a lot of functions into the screen, which can get cumbersome at times, especially if you're on the go and you want to adjust some of the functions. Getting to some of them means you have to be looking at the screen a lot longer than you would want to. If BMW had included physical buttons for some more of the functions, that would have been a great help. And finally, the biggest one, this is an electric car, which means that you can't escape the fact that you are limited by the infrastructure around you. You can only go where you get proper charging or where you'd be able to get charging. And this is a really large battery, which means that if you don't have fast charging, it's going to take an awfully long time to charge up the car. And that's something you have to deal with. It's one of those things that you should significantly consider if you are going in for this BMW i5. So there you have it, our experiences with the BMW i5 M60. What do you think of the car? Do let us know in the comment section below. Do you want BMW to add or change anything? Do let us know about that too in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.